Do you want to be average? Do you want to be above average? Do you want to stand out? I mean, are you in this game just to have a fight, or are you in this game to become the champion? This time.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Men's Collective podcast, the place where real men do the real talk. None of the BS. Wayne Taylor here, and I'm joined by just two of the lads today. Mikie, Jamie, fellas.
Hey, boys.
We're feeling lonely.
We survived the coal.
Chris comes back for 1 week and then just dumps us and takes the runner again.
Yeah,
Hey.
been used again.
Send him a message saying, mate, thanks for letting us down. No. Chris had other plans today they did commit to. But, fellas, tell us about your week. What's new?
Mate, same as always, isn't it? Work, partner. We've got a few extra dogs this week, which have been a joy. The sleepless nights and but
Extra dogs, as in like you've adopted dogs.
no, we got the sister-in-law's dogs come over, and one of our pups was on. Well, one of our dogs was on heat, and they're just running around all night, no sleep, and obviously I'm just too mean to the dogs to discipline them, so. That's we've left that to Anna. It's been a big week.
Boy dogs or girl dogs?
Dog week.
I got one girl dog and two boy dogs and one fixed boy dog. So
You wake up at midnight and the boy dog's like, get off me. Get off my head. Fuck off.
no,
Mikey, buddy, how about yourself, mate? How was your week?
Big week, mate. Just massive week at work. There's school holidays going on, so I've had wife and kids were away for a few days, so I kind of got to bachelor it up a little bit and just focus on work. And it's a bit of a weird feeling coming home and the house is clean. You have a drink, you wash the cup up and put it there, and then nothing moves. And then you wake up in the morning and everything's where you left it.
It's different, isn't it?
It's a wild week. Yeah, I just didn't know myself. I was like
didn't know what to do with yourself.
It's like I was in a hotel. It was lovely.
Well, welcome back, fellas. Right, a couple of announcements. So, we mentioned last couple of weeks we got a new shirt coming out, so keep an eye out for that in the merch department on the website, along with a new website coming out. I've made a whole heap of adjustments to it. Just waiting for that to get all finalised, so keep an eye out for the new website. We're going to have a lot more things added to it, which will be great. New designs and some hats we've got coming out. Miguel, who you know from the podcast, one of our major guys that's been travelling for work the last few months. It was his birthday last week, 42, big fella. We call him the Maltese Terrier. He likes to be referred to as the Maltese Mongrel, but more of a Maltese Terrier in our eyes. So happy birthday, Miguel. There was an announcement I did mean to make last week that I've been waiting for a bit of not confirmation, but a bit more of a go ahead from the family. But I did mention it on social media, and I'm going to mention it on the podcast. But in the early stages of when Average Joe's began, and for a good rock solid 5 to 5.5 years, we had a man that was involved a lot behind the scenes on building up everything that we were here, a lot with our starting packs, a lot with our meetups, all the curriculums we've built behind it to do our high school stuff that we worked on for quite some time. But Mick Sherry, for a lot of you guys who might know the guy, but we lost Mick about 3 weeks ago now, and in a pretty sad way, to be honest. Again, like I said, I waited for a bit of permission off the family to announce this, and they've given me the go-ahead. But Mick's sadly, succumbed to the black dog. Sad news to hear. Very sad news to hear, I should say, because, from the outside looking in, it's very, very easy. And I know we as men and as mates have had this conversation many times on what it's seen, what it's looked at. From the outside looking in, it's easy to say, come on, mate, pull through, be stronger, think about your family. And in saying that, I'm not saying I'm pulling back from that either, because I think there's elements to both. But when a good mate does succumb to the black dog and chooses that his time is now no longer relevant, or however he thought fit, but yeah, Mick decided that enough was enough here on earth, and sadly to see Mick go. And I want to put a call there to all you listeners out there that, hey, listen, if you are going through some struggles, if you are finding life that little bit too hard, that bit tough, reach out to somebody. Go see some professionals, reach out to good mates. Just don't do it alone. It's not worth it. One of the things that we push here all the time is your circle of friends, your circle of mates. And it is exactly what you need, is that that circle. And I think one of the sad things is you don't realize how big your circle is until things like this happen. And one of the things that Mick said leading up for a long time was that he didn't realize the circle of people around him. And then when you go to the guy's funeral and you see there would have been close to 300 people there at least, you realize how big your circle actually is without you realizing. So men, don't do it alone. If it's tough, reach out to somebody. But yeah. So, yeah, a bit of a sad announcement there, but moving right along. But, Jamie, over to you, buddy, for Ask Us Anything.
So a couple of questions again. So the first one is from Adam. Hey, boys, my dad died about 2 years ago. I've never spoken to him about some things that I now wish I did. I'm struggling a bit, and I wouldn't mind hearing what you have to say. So I think the main point thing for me, Adam, is that, we can't change the past, but we can definitely learn from it. So, you always take that opportunity to say what's on your mind and what's in your heart. You know what I mean? So I lost my mum without any notice whatsoever. Just woke up from a phone call from one of my mentors and said, hey, mate, he was crying as well. And he said, I hate to be the one that has to give you this news, but your mum's passed away last night. And, there's a lot of things that you wish you said. And I think that the biggest thing that you can do is learn from those situations, whether it's, being open with people or, in some cases there's families out there that haven't spoken to their dad because their mum wouldn't let them and, things like this. So I think we need to actually really work towards opening up those lines of communication. And also we talk about it all the time, being the man is about taking action. So if there's something that you want to do, just do it. I took the opportunity over a week ago now to say to like a father figure in my life going, look, I never really said it to you, but thanks so much for everything you did to me for me when I was growing up. So I think we've got to take those opportunities and we just got to learn that you should become the type of person where people feel open enough to be able to communicate with you. Anything else you want to add, boys?
Mikie, anything, buddy?
Yeah, well, look, death's a tough one, right? And it doesn't matter what we do; we're always going to have to face it in our lives, and there's always going to be that person that we're not going to get to have those last words with, and it's going to be more than we'd like it to be in life. But I think one of the things we can do is honour someone's memory by those things you wish you'd said to someone. They're going to be quite often thanking them for things, the way they've shaped your life. So I think focusing on that and really pushing it out there and making that marked improvement in your life is just going to honour their memory. So
it's a tough one, eh? I want to try and correlate it into something else to try and, I guess, give a bit more clarity on it. But quite often we'll finish a podcast and even Mikie said to me just yesterday, he goes, we know we should try and get a little bit more thought time leading into it, because it's not until you record the podcast you walk away and you go, oh, you know what, I should have said that. Oh, I should have said that. And I think within that, the moral of the story of what I'm trying to say is I don't think you're ever going to have everything you're going to say to somebody at any given time, because you always do look back going, oh, you know what, that would have been good if I'd said that, if I'd done that. But I think what Jamie say is true too. I think if you're conscious of it and be grateful and show gratitude as much as you can, fantastic. But I wouldn't beat yourself up over it because I don't know of anybody that's had someone pass and go, yeah, well, look, I said everything I wanted to say to him, because I don't think that's even possible. So I think the worst thing you can do, mate, is to beat yourself up over it. But then, make light of the situation that there are people in your life still that you can reach out to. And whether that's a coffee, a text message, something so simple. But, mate, don't beat yourself up over it. At the end of the day, if you are a father and you have a son, I think your son's pretty much grateful, and I think you as a father know that. I mean, if you're doing your best as a dad, I think you can be quite confident leaving this world going, yeah, no, I did my best. So I don't think your dad is up in heaven looking down going, oh, you bastard, you should have said a few more things. I don't think that's the case. So look, mate, free yourself of that, bud. I don't think that's a thing you need to worry about. Was there any more?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got another one from Byron. Hey guys, I'm feeling burnt out, like I can't go on anymore. Not just at work, but with everything. I've got a girlfriend and a 5-year-old, and they are the world to me, but it's getting harder. So, I think this is one of the reasons why we did that, the podcast of permission to put yourself first, because there's so many areas in that podcast which sort of helps you in this period. So if you haven't seen that one, Byron, I definitely recommend that you go back and watch that, or anyone who's feeling like that, definitely go back and watch that podcast episode, because that was very, very in-depth there. A couple of things, though, is that when people are starting to feel this way, a question that comes into their mind is that they start to feel that the world, their family, their loved ones would be better off without them. You know what I mean? And this is not the case. Like, all you have to do is go to a friend's funeral that has committed suicide or has given up or has done that sort of stuff, and you can see how much pain, how much they wish that they could have supported you better and changed that sort of habit and things like that. So like, if you ever start thinking about it in that sort of sense, definitely reach out and get support. Definitely don't hold it in. Like, make sure that you're working towards that. And you have to understand that this too shall pass. Like, we all have different seasons in our life, and some of those seasons are harder, some of those seasons are easy. Like, just number one, put yourself first, because, if you can't look after yourself, it's hard to look after anyone else. And I think as a man, that's what happens a lot, is that we give, but we can't give out of an empty cup, which I'm sure you guys have all heard that before. So just making sure that you're looking after yourself, but find one thing that gives you joy. If you can just find that one thing, that one positive thing, you can expand on it. Yep. And if you can just slowly make that more and more of your life, before you know it, in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, so many people underestimate what they can achieve over a long period of time. So, yeah.
Yeah, spot on. Well, yeah.
I can relate to the burnout thing. We've had many conversations on that, Wayne, over the years, and yeah, I'd say everyone around this table has been burnt out. When you read that out, I feel like I can't go on. The reality is you can go on. It's you feel like you can't, but you can. You've been doing it and you can continue. You may not want to keep going as hard as you've gone, but you can. So, yes, you need to step back and have some time out for yourself. But, mate, the word can't doesn't exist, man. Like,
totally with you.
You remember that. And look, the hard times, you can't have good times without hard times. So what you're doing right now may be tough, but in the long run, there's got to be light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, you do need to start incorporating things that are going to be for your own time, whether that's an hour out or finding that bit of time to hang around with mates. But I'll definitely remove that word can't from your vocabulary, man.
Yeah, spot on. I look at this question and I was thinking a couple of things. The difference between, we've mentioned it before on the podcast, the difference between loneliness and being alone. You might feel lonely in this state where you're at, but you're not alone. And the difference is we've all been there as men. We've all been there. Why I say that is because we're all still here. We've all been there, but we're all still here. Maybe not in the same place of feeling we can't go on, but we've been there and we've moved on. So we're still here. So it's obviously whatever you're going through, mate, you can get through it. You've already lasted your worst day. This is nothing. You got to, actually, I won't say this is nothing. If you're really feeling it, obviously reach out, but you have survived your worst day and you're not alone in it. Men have been there and they've pulled through. You definitely can do it. One of the things I want to touch on what Jamie said too is absolutely spot on. If you go back to one of our original podcasts, Permission to Put Yourself First, I mentioned a story in there that I still to this day do, and Mikie knows it very well because he respects it in a funny roundabout way. But every Saturday I'll get into my cafe. I get there at 6 a.m. and I stay there from 6 till 7. And it's the part of the week. Now I have a coffee every single day of the week. Every single day I have a coffee. Most of the time it's on the run, in, out, whatever. But on Saturdays I have a coffee at the cafe and I actually lock that 1 hour out for me. I don't get there early. I don't stay any later. It's just 6 till 7. And to the point where I came home the other day and my wife said, "Oh, it's you were there for ages." I said, "Yeah, I know, because Jay rocked up, another guy rocked up." And she's like, "Oh, you're getting a bit popular down there with your little 1 hour, sit out." And my response to her was, "Yeah," I said, "it's actually made me think of choosing a different cafe for Saturday mornings." And she's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, because that 1 hour a week where I lock it out just for me and it's uninterruptible for other people, I need it. It's for me. I don't change the time. It's locked out. I call it coffee with Wayne because obviously it's coffee with me, but to the point where Mikie will joke about it because sometimes he'll be driving through on the Saturday, flick me a text, "Hey mate, have you finished the coffee with yourself yet?" I'm like, "Yeah, mate, pop in." But that 1 hour, I lock out for me.
I should say that it's because you have that coffee wearing a dress. So
That's why no one sits with me, really.
that's why all the other men do.
The other thing too is create things to look forward to. If you give yourself small little things to look forward to, world of difference, because it keeps you looking ahead. One of the things that my wife and I with our family started to do, and again, everyone loves doing holidays, but we try to do a holiday at the end of the year that's outright something to look forward to, because then the day-to-day throughout the year, as tough as it gets, come home in the afternoon and work a bit on the holiday. If you're going away for 2 weeks somewhere at the end of the year, let's just call it, if you come up here to Queensland, if you're going to Queensland at the end of the year for 2 weeks, then when it gets tough, come home in the afternoon and do something that ties into the holiday. Come home and go, "Oh, you know what? We're there for 2 weeks. How about on the Tuesday we do a boat ride?" And book in a boat ride. Do those little things that tie into something that you're looking forward to, and mate, you'll breeze through it. Thanks for that, Jamie.
No worries, boys.
So in future, boys, if you want to, what do people do, mate, if I want to send a question in?
Mate, just hit us up on our socials. Telephone numbers coming shortly as well too. Send us an email. All those details are online there. So
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Righto. How about you, Mikie, for the week that was?
So, guys, this week I wanted to talk to you about the UK government pushing ahead with its controversial plans for a digital ID rollout. So, the framework's now in place, and as of 2029, they are aiming to have every citizen in the UK having a digital ID, which means you won't be able to work without it. There's so many things about this where there's fears for data privacy. There's public backlash. So 43% of people have outright said no to it. And the approval rating for it is down below 30% in public opinion. So I wanted to talk to you boys this week and see where this is going, because this digital ID thing is really starting to become a big issue. Even when we come down to Australia's plans for, as of December this year, we're going to need to prove that we're over 16 to use social media. Our Australian government hasn't said how they're going to roll this out, only that it will be there and it will be down to big tech to decide. As they would put it, to put people over profit. I would wonder if that's really what they're asking them to do. But yeah, with the rise of the digital ID, what's your thoughts, guys?
Look, I think to some degree we're already under some kind of digital footprint of who we are and where we're placed in the world. We've got government IDs now with apps and stuff that, you couldn't even, when COVID hit, get into places you had a certain kind of government ID and whatever. But it's one thing to sit here in Australia and say, "Oh, look, the UK have done it," but what that means to us is this is just the start of where it's going to come, because it's going to come. What is it, December to Australia?
As of December this year, the government is planning that you need to be over 16 to use social media. So they haven't really come up with a foolproof way to make that happen. They've just made a statement, put some basic laws around it, which means the framework can legally be done, and then they're going to put it on big tech to roll it out.
I don't think it's something that we sit here and go, "Oh, mate, look, don't worry about it," but I also don't want to say I think it's something that we need to worry about. But I do think it's something we need to worry about. It's the start of, we've been saying it for a long time just in our little circle of mates that, again, COVID kind of brought about so much speculation, so much conspiracies, so much thoughts into, "Oh, this is just the start of something." And all the things that were said, we've started to see roll out and they've actually come to pass. One of the things that they've done, I don't know the extent of how true this is, but a lot of things that have been said is the whole point system that's been created in China right now, right? So you break the law, you jaywalk, you do whatever, you steal something, you get caught, whatever. Anyway, regardless of what it is, but there's a point system being created that if you are seen by the government as someone that's not entirely seen fit in society, you get a certain amount of points added to you. Now, the more points you get, the more restrictions that actually get put on you on what you can and can't do in society. Now, that's all well and good if you're a good, upstanding citizen, which we all push to be, hence what we are about here, becoming better men. But at the end of the day, you can't, what's going to happen in the UK, you can't even buy groceries now without this ID. You can't put fuel in your car without this ID. It's pushing towards a system that the government's going, we no longer just want to know everything there is to know about you. We want to actually control everything that's around you and what you're going to do. And you've got to call a spade a spade. It's the start of something that, again, it's one thing to sit here and go, it's doing it already. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse. It's the start of something big.
Yeah, I think that word control is my concern there, because you can sit there and just go back and go, oh yeah, well, it's just an ID, that'll be convenient, I'll have it on my phone or whatever, I won't have to carry that around and all the rest of it. But it's that slippery slope of, okay, well, what's next after that? And I think it's already, the writing's already in the wall with other countries. Geez, I wish I could talk today. With other countries implementing different things, because the more they can control a population, But also a part of my mind goes, well, what about the data breaches? And what about identity theft and things like that? Like, when you have your physical ID and that's only given out by, one area of the government, and you can use that ID and you need people, actually a person, to cite that ID, well then, that does put some security in place there. But we give our bank details out to Telstra and other people, and then all of a sudden, oh, sorry guys, we gave out your details to everyone. Someone got in and did that sort of stuff. So how easy would that identity theft to be able to come when they've got all your ID in one place and can potentially swipe it?
Yep.
So,
yeah, well, there's a lot around that, but when you start to tie it into the other things that are happening, so limiting how much you can withdraw from your bank, including, and we have that in Australia. If you withdraw over a certain amount of cash, they want a reason for you to do it. Now, that's under the notion that we're protecting you from a scam. A little old lady may come in and think that, some prince is stuck in an airport and he just needs a bit of money, which could be valid. But let's be honest, are only 95% of the population, are they going to go and withdraw that money and do a silly scam? They're not. So why would you need to implement that for everyone? So when it starts to roll this way, they're just taking more and more control. So I'm hearing rumours that in the UK that they're actually limiting how much you can withdraw from your bank in any given day. And there's plans to actually report that to HMRC, which is their version of the ATO. So you could possibly have the government investigating how you're spending your money. Wow. So when you put that with digital ID, with, again, what we're rolling on over here, it just can't go anywhere good, can it?
No. Yeah, I don't see nothing good coming from this. I know they're put in place, and I know the government tries to feed us a story that these things are put in place for safety measures and things like that, but I cannot see this as doing anything than just increasing the amount of control that they have, and then more and more and more down that path. It's not good. That's really not good, mate.
Yep. So we'll keep it there for today. There's a lot going on, but that's probably enough, right?
Happy with that, mate. All right, fellas. Now it's time for man versus machine. All right, lads, got a question. This is where we ask you and we ask our friend Chad, aka ChatGPT, the same question and compare your responses. Again, none of them are right, but just to bring some perspective from obviously where we as humans, we have emotion, we have experience, we have expertise, we have all these different things that we have, past experiences, lived experiences, compared to this driving machine at the moment, AI, that seems to be just doing more and more and taking over the world. Anyway, all right, I'm going to ask you a question, the same one I've asked ChatGPT. You ready for it?
Shoot.
No, I'm really not.
Here it is. I asked ChatGPT this week, when the world tells you to be softer, compromise, or step aside, how do you decide when to stand firm and lead?
I reckon you shouldn't ever stop standing firm and leading.
So when the world tells you to be soft and compromise and step aside, you're
The
saying,
world's wrong.
okay, Jamie.
I mean, but who's the world? Like,
That blue-haired crazy lady.
that's what I mean. It's not actually the world who's telling you that. It's someone that's just got a louder voice that's telling you that. So, no, I don't think so. I think you know what's right and you know what's wrong, and you just do what's right. Unless it's something that you completely do not give a shit about and it's not going to affect your life in any way, then you guys can go hell for Mary and do whatever you want. But if it's something that's important to me or is going to affect my family or people that I care about, then I'll be at the front.
Well, I thought of this question myself too, thinking, when the world tells you to be softer, to compromise or step aside, how do you decide when to stand firm and lead? For me, I always, and we say this all the time, I always go back to a moral compass that you set for yourself. I think you have a moral code within you where your ethics stand, where your beliefs stand. And if it's pushing you from a side from those things, that's where I think you need to be cautious. But I think there's other things where maybe there are areas we do need to be softer. Maybe we need to compromise in different areas. But I think when it starts to push you outside of what you have as a core value and your morals and your standards, your ethics, your beliefs, that's a problem. But, well, I'm going to leave it to you. Want to know what Chat said when I asked Chat this question?
What did Chad say?
Chad sat on both sides of the fence, didn't he?
So I said to Chad, when the world tells you to be soft, to compromise or step aside, how do you decide when to stand firm and lead? And Chad said this: modern society often values compromise and consensus, but leadership requires knowing which lines cannot be crossed. Standing firm is not about ego, aggression, or control. It's about clarity, responsibility, and protecting what matters. A man who hesitates too much risks losing himself, while a man who charges blindly risks harming others. True strength is discernment, when you yield and when to lead. Now, want to know something funny about AI? This is where it's getting crazy. This is where I think AI is getting weird. After I asked Chad that question, and I asked it to predict what you would say, it said, hey, Wayne, do you want to go one step further and predict what each individual would say? And I asked Chad, I said, how the hell do you do that? And I get this, ready? This is where it's getting freaky. So I asked Chad, I said, hey, listen, jump on Spotify and go through all the transcripts of all our past podcasts and get to know us individually. This is where it's getting scary, right? And respond on how you think us would answer this individually. Do you want to know how Chad thought you would answer?
Let's go.
Right,
Exactly the way we did.
So Mikey, right? So when I asked Chad, how do you think Mike would answer that question? Possibly Mike will give a story from work where he's has to enforce standards despite pressure. So obviously Chad thinks you talk about work a lot. Jamie, Chad reckons this. Jamie possibly will Jamie will possibly reflect on a parenting moment where he refused to back down or for the sake of consistency. Obviously, parenting's on your mind a lot. This is what it said about me. Wayne will add a spiritual angle, tying standing firm to purpose and integrity. The discussion would naturally explore personal limits, courage, and accountability. Isn't that weird?
You wrote that about yourself.
No,
didn't you?
I swear to God, I didn't. No, really, I didn't. Look, old Chad. Well, look, there's Man vs. Machine for this week. I tell you what, the AI is getting out of control. It's getting to know us quite well. So, righto, Mikey, over to you, buddy, for Out and About.
So, guys, the barbecue this week was really good. We had, mainly because me and Wayne weren't there, actually, but we'll talk about that in a second. But we had some, again, over 100 meals went out. The guys had a great time. All the reports were more people, more new faces. Everyone had fun. Good loud music as always. I do want to do a quick shout out again to our good friends at Gateway Care and at Nambour Butchers for supporting what we do there. Now, again, we need to talk about the donations for the food trucks. So, guys, we've it's no secret we've been fundraising for a new food truck so we can step up our game, deliver more to the community and widen our reach. So if you want to get behind that, it's www.givesendgo and search food truck. We've been getting some donations coming in, and to everyone who has, I want to say a big thank you. It's going towards the plans for what we've got coming up. So really thank you. And we've also got some T-shirts coming soon. So they're going to be $50 each. And we're at this stage, we've settled on this T-shirt fed someone. I may have a bit of angle and tweak that slightly with a bit of humour, but we'll see. there may be a after hours T-shirt available as well, but we're not. Yeah, it was a great week. But Wayne and I actually, our good friend Dennis Hogan, who's been a good friend of the show now for a wee while, 2023 world champ, our security guard, if you will. Great guy. He launched his speaking career this week, and he invited us down, so we got the honour of coming down and listening to that. It was an incredibly inspiring story, and for anyone who wants to get involved with that, I would definitely check out Dennis Hogan's website. I believe it's dennishoganboxing.com.au. So get along and have a look at that. But we actually got to check out the Last Man Standing Brewery. So one of our newer friends at the station of the show, Stephen Bradbury, that's one of his little love childs, his brainchild there. Absolutely phenomenal venue right outside Suncorp Stadium in the city. Can seat thousands of people. The food was insane. The beer was very good. I'm not much of a standard lager drinker, but the Last Man Standing lager was top notch.
It was incredible, really good.
And we tested a few just to make sure it didn't change after each one. Wayne and I would both say the best chips we've ever had in our life.
Off the charts. Like, seriously off the charts.
And so Steve gave us a tour of the venue, and it was good. And then he let us into the little secret. All of their food that's fried is fried in beef tallow. So, which kind of explains it all, right?
I'm drooling on the microphone right now.
It is. It was such a good night.
It was a great night, mate. Really
great
good night.
venue. So I think when we get to that stage, guys, when we're doing our kind of speaking events, I think we found the spot, right?
We did. Unreal spot. Really, really good. I think, Steve Bradbury's done a great job there. Right outside of Suncorp Stadium too. Location's insane. Yeah, food was great. Beer was great. And it was great to go see Dennis kick off his speaking career, which was really good. Good friend of the show and, mate, doing good things.
Mate, can't wait to get him back on again.
He'll be on. If we can understand him. You've got to speak English next time. Not this this Irish accent he's got. But, hey, look, guys, in Out and About, just touching on our meetup groups. Great turnout this week. Look, a lot of the groups are growing. This was really, really good. I didn't get a chance to go to the one on Wednesday at Mooloolaba, but I did go to the one on Monday, which is great, the one at Budgeon, which I used to run, which Scotty and Dylan run that now. But look, great numbers. Going really, really good. If you want to get along to a meetup, look, hit up at the website. A couple of the website ones haven't changed yet, so don't go buy them entirely. But if you do go on there, you can see where they are, or hit us up on all our socials, find out where they are. But at the moment, Budgeon, Brightwater, Mooloolaba, Bribey Island, Albany Creek, and Pakistan. Going really, really good. If you do want to host one of our Average Joe's meetups, again, jump on the website, the very, very front page, there's a link. Host your own, click the link, sends it through to me. We'll have a bit of a chat, send you a code of conduct, send you our little status pack, and go right through it all. But hey, look, men meeting together is great. One of the point of difference, if not the biggest point of difference we have about what we do here in Average Joe's is we have an agenda behind every single meetup. We get there, we have a set topic, which are the topics that you hear on the podcast, but they're led well by the hosts. They're done well, they're discussed, because look, we're not about just meeting up at a pub or a cafe for a piss up and things like that. We have an agenda, we have a purpose behind it, and it's all good. So look, hit us up, jump along to our meetups. All right, fellas, ready for the topic?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Getting touchy today, I tell you. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be tough. So look, I've called this topic this week.
Mike gets cancelled.
I call this segment "Death to the Patriarchy." Okay, I want you to imagine with me a castle built centuries ago. Thick walls, high towers, heavy gates, guards standing all around to watch. It survived storms, it survived wars, famine, you name it. Inside, everything had a purpose. Kings made the decisions, advisors offered counsel, knights protected the people. Every role was clear, every responsibility defined. That castle is a picture of patriarchy. For generations, it held society together. It created structure, it gave men a clear path to protect, provide and lead. All the things that we say here all the time on the panel. Today, many of those walls are being questioned. Critics say they control too much. They stifle freedom. They maintain outdated hierarchies that do more harm than good. We hear claims that patriarchy is dead, has no place in the modern world. But maybe that's only part of the story. Maybe what is fading is not the patriarchy itself, but the abuse, the selfishness, and the recklessness that sometimes has grown within it. The foundation, the part that gives purpose, identity, responsibility, can still stand strong if we rebuild it wisely. This isn't about blindly following old rules or clinging to the past. It's about seeing the value in what worked and adapting to it today. A modern patriarchy is not about domination or control. It's about men stepping up to lead with accountability, to provide with integrity, and to protect what matters in a world that is increasingly chaotic. It's about using strengths and influences, responsibility to serve families, communities, and the next generation. So today we ask, is the patriarchy really dead? What parts should we mourn? What parts are worth reclaiming? How can men today take the best of its tradition and make it relevant, useful, and strong in a world that is changing very, very quickly? So fellas, I want to ask you a yes or no and come back to your reason why. Patriarchy, old news, still required, necessary. Yes or no? Mikie?
100% necessary.
Jamie?
I'm still going to say no, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to say...
Take your penny off.
I'm going to say yes. Mikie, why? Why yes?
Patriarchy built everything we have today. The civilizations, the buildings, the roads. It still maintains all of it. So the misunderstanding that because there's a patriarchy, it somehow is a detriment to women, I don't think that's a valid concern anymore. I think we've come so far. In fact, in some cases, we're going too far, and we're trying to disempower men to give women a better advantage. I think, yeah, we need it. How are we going to continue to make the big strides that humanity has over the last few thousand years if we don't have that similar structure? It's going to look slightly different, but we still, at its root, we still need that.
Interesting. Jamie, you said no, buddy. Tell us why.
Well, like, one of my favorite things to do is build a team. And the way I see like a family unit is a team. Now, different people have different strengths. You know, so some people are fantastic at building relationships or networking with people or just going out and work ethics and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And some other people have amazing skill sets in finances, in investing, in saving money and all the rest of it. And the way I look at building a team is having the right person in the right seat. Yeah. Now, I think in relationships, so it doesn't mean that the guy has to be in charge of absolutely everything. I think we need to work on our strengths and where things are, where people are strong. I think the issue is that these expectations and these sort of obligations of this is what I'm going to look after and this is what you're going to look after and this is what my expectations are and this is what and what are your expectations, and I think that and these are what my values are and this is so these are the lines that can't be crossed, etc., etc. I think that's where relationships fall down because we're getting let down on our expectations. People are thinking that you should be doing something when you're not doing something. And I think that really the best way for it to work is to work as a team and you to do your job in that team. Do you know what I mean? If you're a front rower and you think that your job is to start putting chips over the line and flick passes and all this sort of shit, then you're not doing your job. You know, your job is to sit there and protect and to run up and gain meters and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so do what you're good at, sort of thing. So I don't think that it has to be so rigid and structured. I think that we should get the best people in the best seats. I 100% agree with you where they're like, we need to make people sacrifice so we make room for other people. That's bullshit. Yeah. What it should be is if you're really, really good at something or you're the best at doing that compared to whatever people that are available at that period of time, you get the opportunity. That's what.
Yep. All right. I want to challenge that. Is that okay?
Of course.
I don't care if you said no anyway. No, I'm just... Okay, so you talk about team, right? So I want to look at it two ways on what you just said. Your answer went down the path of a team, but then it also stayed within the realm of relationships, right? So I want to look at this two ways on what you just said. In a team structure, then you're saying that a front row forward has a role to do. Like your role is to hit the defensive line hard, try and break through, offload if you can, break down, gain meters. That's your role. If he's not doing his role, who pulls him up?
The coach. Or
Captain.
better, or even better, his peers, the other players around him.
So if the winger said, mate, you're not doing your job, he could turn to the winger and say, who do you tell me I'm not doing my job? I can do what I want. I'm on the field. True?
He can say that, but then he's not a good team player.
According to who, though? What I'm trying to get at is this. Within a team structure, every team has a captain.
Yeah.
And every captain reports back to the coach. There's a structure. And what we're looking at here, as a hierarchy within what we're calling as a patriarchy, right? So outside of the relationships, so how do you think a society would work then if everyone was just to do their job under no kind of structure? Other than this is your job, this is my job. Who do we report to? Who's allocating decisions? Who's making the call? Who's on the front line? Who's taking the hit?
Well, I think there needs to be structure, but I'm not saying that it has to be like you have to take care of absolutely everything.
This is starting to sound like the Albanese government, mate. This is...
Do you know what I mean? And now,
I don't.
Now, the majority of the time, though, it is the male in the situation because he looks more logical and he's got plans and goals and et cetera, et cetera. So that does happen. But there is guys, and I'm not one of these guys, but there is guys out there who just don't want to take responsibility. And this is the perfect guy for the chicks that are in the masculine. Do you know what I mean? So it's not actually the sex that's actually what's counted there. It's their level of masculinity that's counted. So, like, it's how much control they're taking and how much responsibility they're prepared to take. 100% there has to be a captain. Like, 100% there has to be a coach. 100% there's shareholders that you have to answer to, But the fact is that I think that you saying because you have a title, that you get to tell other people what to do, I think it should be better communicated than that.
Interesting. Sorry, we're going to say something.
No, go on. Go on. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to behave myself today for a little bit, and I'll build it up for later. I'll have an outburst at some point.
All right, I'll ask you a question then. So what do you believe that patriarchy was used to stand for and has now been lost? Because we're not that far out of that era, that age, that generation. We're not far from it. So what do you think it used to stand for, and what have we lost from it now?
It depends how you look at it, right? A lot of it's been used as patriarchy's been vilified as this way to keep women in the kitchen, have men have complete control over everything. And I think whilst that was in every civilization, what would happen, men would typically have control. I think it just happened to work that way, whereas now women have very much got a lot of rights, and a woman can do any job in the world, and that's fine. But now let's take it even further. We don't even know what a woman is now. The people that would complain about patriarchy being detrimental to women wouldn't even be able to tell you what a woman is. So patriarchy is a structure. We follow a leader. However you put it, we need to follow someone. We've got locally, within our house, within our families, within our local community, the government, society, however you look at it, we follow someone. Used to be kings and queens. Now we have republics. Look at through COVID, we had flipping government officials standing up and giving us daily addresses that we were glued to the TV to listen to. We need to follow someone. So that's always going to be there.
So you're looking at patriarchy as you're saying
It's a structure.
It is a structure. Well, like I said, when you look at it as a castle standing back, looking at it, you go to Scotland and all these places nowadays, you look at castles that are still there. They are phenomenal, amazing structures, architecturally designed, and they're still standing. And so when you look at that and you look at it in reference to what we're saying, it has the historical roots that made it withstand those things. There's a reason why it stood so strong and still stands so strong today. And it's like we're trying to break down something that did work. But then what are the things you think didn't work then in what you see as patriarchy? What didn't work?
Well, I think what they lost was that the patriarch of the family, used to have honor. So they used to do what was best for the family, and they used to lead. Yeah. I think in some situations though, and where that started to change was it's kind of like our generation, like kids these days, where they feel like they automatically deserve something where they actually haven't worked for it or they haven't created anything. Or so I get this because I am this, not because of what I'm doing. So that's where I think it broke down. Like the benefit of it though is that people knew where they stood and what their responsibilities was. So therefore you could work in unison together, like in one sort of whole thing. Because was there patriarchy in single family homes?
Well, there is, because there's still a structure there. It might be missing we're talking single families here. Let's just talk single mother and kids, right?
Yeah.
So there's a missing dad. There still is a patriarchy within it.
Correct.
The man's missing.
Correct. So this is why it doesn't have to be male or female. Do you know what I mean? I think that everyone needs their assigned roles, and if they know what's going to happen, and if it's that conversation you've had where you're like, you're good at this, I'm not good at this, you're good at this, I'm good at this. But when it comes, because me and Anna had that conversation where it's like, I can't just keep I'm not going to be getting into another relationship where I'm arguing. Yeah. So definitely I'm going to take on board everything. But if we're in a stalemate and I need to make a decision, I need you to back me. Are you okay with that? So.
Yeah. Well, we go back to the word patriarchy. That's very specifically talking about male dominated. So in a family where there isn't a dad there and it's a single mum, there isn't patriarchy there. There's still a structure. It's just not driven by the man.
You're actually right. You're right.
But that's the thing, right? We're talking about one and the same thing. Patriarchy is simply just vilifying men.
Nowadays it is.
Yeah, that's all it does now. I mean, you go, but again, it's a cold structure that deals on facts and strengths and dealing with people. The strongest man wins, or the strongest person wins. We used to be in a society where women couldn't be in politics, they couldn't vote, they couldn't do all these things. Now they can. We can still have a situation where a man is the best person for the job and dominates it, but he now incorporates things like emotions and feelings. In the old days, the risk would be that it was so driven by facts and figures and strengths, there was no room for emotions, which is where you would get the old situation of, the husband whacking his wife around and no one would stop it. That kind of stereotypical situation, but that isn't that anymore. Men are so emotive these days that how could it be a bad thing when you've got the modern man like us sitting around the panel? So many on the left would call us Neanderthals and, you know, look at these bigots or whatever else, they're anti-women. We're not. Compared to the men of the past, if we sat around a table with our grandfathers when they were 25, 35, 40, and we were having the same conversations, they would think we were like radical left, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So it's only something that's so much further down that would suggest that anything that we say is bad.
Discover multi-award-winning real estate with podcast sponsor One Life Property Group, based on the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, specialising in everything from high-end duplexes to multi-residential developments, ensuring the highest quality workmanship. Visit onelifepropertygroup.com.au today to achieve excellence in your next property development.
So would you say we've started, I'm not going to call it a downward spiral by any means, but sticking with the death of the patriarchy, what you're saying is right. If we sat with great-great-grandfathers or 200-year-old, 300 years ago kind of generation, they would see us as weaker, right? And they would see us as succumbing to a change that they wouldn't see beneficial or positive. But here we are. I guess one of the questions that I see come from that is, we're a far more prosperous generation where we have a lot more. We're not in famines and things like that, especially in Western countries like that. We're not experiencing that kind of stuff. So we're very much more wealthy in what we have with our resources and things. But our generations prior to stop and look at us now would look at us as that we've succumbed to the change of like, oh, you know, you've stepped down from being that male dominance, right? But you run that alongside other statistics that have come up that we've seen these last few years. The divorce rate's a hell of a lot higher. People aren't even getting married as much. So the marriage rate is down, but divorce is through the roof, right? Minority groups, I shouldn't call them minority groups. Groups that are...
That's not what our great-grandfathers would have called them.
It would have been a lot more to... But what I'm saying is that we're giving power to groups that you would 300, 400, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, you'd think they're whacked. And we joke about them, call them whacked, like, there's two genders anymore, but there's 10,000 mental illnesses. But because society has gone, there's 54,000 different genders now, right? But when you dismantle the patriarchy and you watch how we have come from it and began this spiral, let's call it a spiral, a change in patriarchy, there's also been a change in things like divorces now going through the roof. Groups that didn't exist now exist. It seems as if there's no structure or leading towards less and less structure of a male dominance, structure. Again, we use the word, but what has also come from it are things that don't look extremely positive. So are we saying then that to make it positive again, or to even lean towards that way, there needs to be an increase in male dominance? Or is there a no, we need to find a new way? Because we said the other day on the week, it feels like the rule book for men has been thrown up in the air and we're still waiting for it to fall to go, oh, this is how we act now, right? But you can't help but look at statistics and go, when the change happened here, we're also seeing the ripple effect over here. We're seeing it. Does that mean we go back to change here? Or does it mean to go, no, okay, no, how do we deal with the ripple effect and go from there?
Well, it's not only the divorce rates, but it's also the suicide rates as well too.
Absolutely.
Are huge. And it's also so. And, one of the books you put me onto, which was fantastic, which was Love and Respect. And men see love as getting respect. Yeah. Men also see love as connection and making love, to their partners and et cetera, et cetera. Now, those statistics, one of the biggest things where I think that has changed is that women have joined the workforce. Like, it's nearly impossible for you to get by with a single income family these days, isn't it? You just can't compete. So women have to work, yeah? So where it used to be that, the father had the first bath and then the wife and then the oldest and it worked, that's where don't lose the baby in the bath water came from. That was the hierarchy of the house and everything. The biggest piece of steak went to the father because he provided everything, and then and it sort of worked its way down. So I think that, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that women are in the workforce. Like, they add immense value in some areas, 100%. But
I'm thinking there's so many sound bites we could make here to make you sound terrible.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. But the thing is, though, is that what also happened, though, is that they started getting exposed to other people and other men. They started when they made more money. Sort of the respect went out the window. I don't need you anymore. I don't what do you do for me? All this sort of stuff comes into it. So the statistics are there where it's like those opportunities for, and then as they're tighter and they've got more stresses in their life, they don't want to make love as much. The same as that masculinity. So where they don't feel safe anymore, that masculinity comes up, and the two poles push each other away. So now you've got men that are out there that are feeling disrespected, because they're still providing them the lion's share, the majority, but what they're doing isn't actually as respected as it could. You've got women stepping into their masculine because they don't feel safe, and obviously not being affectionate with their partner. So the guy's working hard. He's not getting any connection or love. He's not getting respect. He's not getting love. And then he's starting to think, why am I doing this for? So, it's not, the rule book is up in the air and all the rest of it, but it's also these choices that we've made that are affecting everyone. And I think the solution is while the rule book is up in the air, that you find people that align with the life you want to create. You talk about the life you want to create. You talk about your goals. You talk about how you want your kids to grow up. And then you do that. And then hopefully people will see your family and you as an example, and they will actually go, you know what? I want to be like these guys. I don't want to be like those guys. So that's the way I'm looking into that.
I want to touch on one of the things you just said then, right at the end, wanting to look like other guys, right? When you look at the patriarchy changing that it's done these last few generations, I'm okay with some of the things that have changed. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with seeing things alter. I'm okay with seeing things go, you know what, things are different, let's change this. But one of the things I believe without a doubt seems to be becoming a lost art, which is a part of the patriarchy that I think needs to be defended or brought back and just revitalized and rebirthed. And in the old days, you used to call it discipleship. And I think nowadays you'd call it mentorship. I believe that that's one part of the patriarchy that needs to be defended or reinstated, revitalized, however you want to do it, because there seems to be so many lone wolves out there now as men that have no, we've seen the dismantling of family structure. So you have no impartation of generations now from grandfather to father to son. It seems to be missing because one, we're seeing it all. We're a fatherless generation. I think a lot of fathers now are starting to see it, and there's a lot more focus on it. A lot of fathers are starting to step up, but we are still in a fatherless generation. And I think one of the long lost arts of patriotism is that when you look at the structure back in that whole castle and how things worked and how there was that patriarchy, there was the kings and the king's advisors, and that everybody knew the role they had, but there was an impartation and a teaching and a passing down of what beliefs and what thoughts and what habits and what accountabilities and all these things that were huge parts of what made men strong leaders back then, that now there doesn't seem to be a structure at all. And so it seems to be as if one of the long lost arts is mentoring. There's no passing down of the baton anymore. There's no teaching. There's no turning and going, hey, mate, come alongside me here. I remember years and years ago, like, you know, if we look at the word nowadays, mentorship, but in the olden days, you would have called it discipleship. You know, you were teaching a younger person behind you how to walk. You were teaching them how to read. You were teaching them how to, like, there were simple examples I'm giving, but I'm saying how to live. Like, you would literally show them how to do the things, and you would, as the disciple or the one watching on, you would mimic what the person. It's like the apprentice and the master. There seems to be this that's missing now. There's no longer a master and an apprentice. There just seems to be all these lone wolves. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to be out there. Like Steve, who's one of our mates who joins us on the podcast a fair bit. The young kids that he deals with every day are kids literally without that mentoring position in their life. And we're so against, like, you see the demise and the death of what we know as the patriarchy, and a lot of the crowd, a lot of the society applaud it because, patriarchy is this. I get it, right? There are parts of it I want to change. I'm okay with seeing change, I should say. But when you see these young men that have no role model, no mentor, no master, these kids are like, you literally see them. There are things that they do that they honestly believe are okay. You've got something, I'm going to stab you and take it. Why is that bad? Because there's no simple moral code anymore, because there's no one mentoring. There's no one going, mate, let me show you how. Pick up your tools and copy me, mimic me, shadow me. It's gone.
There is still mentoring everywhere. They're just mentoring the wrong things. That's when you look at what they're teaching our kids, it's just different.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, we're still talking to follow. We're just now being told what it is to follow is very, very different.
Yeah.
So
they're taught, don't be masculine. They're taught, you don't have to do something because these people are your parents or this or that,
Yeah.
Your parents are not allowed to do this. Your parents are not allowed to do that. So,
But my middle sister is, she's a feminist. Women can do anything. She's very strong on that. And, last year on holiday, she spoke about, our male privilege. And just when you look at what the notion of male privilege, so patriarchy is, I actually Googled this. I asked ChatGPT, what do you call it? Gender hierarchy. Men are generally given more privileges, status, and authority, while women and other genders, often have fewer rights and opportunities. Now, just that statement itself is suggesting that men have more opportunities than women. We're somehow, the system is rigged against them and in favour of us. What's our male privilege? If you're living right, your male privilege is to get up in the morning and go, I might have a cold, I might not feel like going to work, it might be cold outside, I might rather go fishing or play golf, but I have bills to pay. I'm going to go to work, I'm going to do my responsibilities, I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to look after my family.
That's your privilege.
But this is what I'm saying to you. That's not a privilege, is it?
Well, okay. Well,
it doesn't sound like a privilege. It is. We take it as a privilege.
I would definitely say that. Yeah, you're joking, but
then you go. But I would say it to any woman who wants. If you want to do that, do it. Swap. Let the man stay at home and look after the house, and you go out and take care of all the bills and do all of that and swap the roles. I don't. I think most blokes would go, I'd like a break for a little bit. I think it would soon. I think both parties, in most cases, would go, I've had enough of this. I want to get back on it. But
in that same aspect, like, you do that work, but then you're still expected to do the house cleaning and the yard work.
That's the point, though, isn't it? The whole notion around this is, I'm not happy, I want more.
Yeah.
It's not to say I don't want the responsibility of it. I just want the benefit, the perceived benefit. That you see a Lamborghini parked outside a coffee shop, and you go, I want that Lamborghini. It's not fair. Why does he get it and I don't? Or she gets it and I don't? They've had to make sacrifices and work very hard. The chances are they've had to make those sacrifices and work hard for it. It's not a privilege. You've earned it. Very different things.
Yeah, I think in society and where we are today, I would still say, I know you're joking about it, but I would definitely say it is a privilege to have a job.
Yeah.
It definitely is. But it's also a privilege to, and again, going back to male and female, when we're operating in what we know are the DNA of what makes us up as men, it's a damn good feeling when you're operating your full masculine, and you look at the DNA that makes it, the structure, the wiring that makes up as men, protect, provide, to lead. When you operate in that, you're seeing a man that's not just operating at his fullness, but he feels like he's operating at his fullness. That to me is a privilege. So if that's going to get tarnished as male privilege, you know, opportunities and things like that, I look at it and go, well, yes, it's a privilege, but not in the way that it's coming across. Not like it's singled out that you're favoured because I'm a female, you're a male, oh, you're favoured, that's why you got it. No, it's a privilege that I'm in a society that offers this and offers this role. I'm privileged enough to have made the decisions, made the sacrifices to learn to study, and if there's an opportunity, I'm going to take it. Now, if that's a privilege, well, I want to operate in that. That's why wouldn't I as a man?
Yep. But everyone has that same privilege in our Western world. Does your daughter have different opportunities to your sons?
No, not at all.
Do they do different things with those opportunities?
Yeah, they both choose different things, yeah.
Yeah. But they're free to choose it.
Absolutely.
So, but then you have to accept the responsibilities of your choices. Is that not where we're losing it?
Well, you're right. It is where we're losing it. So then if you go back to what we're starting to see, and don't use the word spiral, but let's just say spiral. If we are seeing this spiral and this...
You've said that a lot of times, so something you don't want to say.
No, because I'm trying to think of what other word to use. Anyway, but the death of what we know as the patriarchy and what you're saying, you know, what was the last thing you just said?
Does your son and your daughter have the same opportunities?
It threw me.
So they both got the same opportunities. They choose differently.
They do.
And then they have to live by those consequences of those choices.
Yeah, but you see this change in patriarchy, though. It hasn't come with positives.
None.
Because we can, yes, we're wealthier where we are, but we're not, I believe, better off we are as humans. I don't think we are. We're healthier in regards to medicines. I think, yeah, absolutely. But coinciding alongside the patriarchy changing downwards, I would say, we're not further ahead.
No.
So
when you Google it, that they say men are generally more privileged than, and then they say women and other genders. We can't define what a woman is. There's 90-something genders, but we can define that men are the problem. But men can also get pregnant. Do you see where there isn't actually a foundation here for any of it. We're taking a facts-based thing and then we're turning it all into feelings and fluidity and everything. Like it does nothing's going to make sense. When you put it on that scale, there is no reality. None of this can work. Everything's against me. But that's really what we're saying, isn't it? When you talk about patriarchy, male privilege, white privilege, any of it, we're just saying it's not fair. I want more.
Agreed.
Well, I think it's a natural thing for men to want to step up, So I don't think it's really the patriarchy that's the problem. I think it's men being removed from the family unit. That's the problem. And the stats support that.
Yeah.
The stats support it. So, like, if you have a look at like drug habits, alcohol habits, whether kids go to jail, like all these types of things, even grades and how well they do in university and stuff. The stats show that if a male is in the house, those kids have a lower percentage of actually being involved with those things. So I feel the biggest problem is, yes, patriarchy is a bit like, you know what I mean, is a hot topic, same as masculinity is a hot topic. The biggest problem is men being pushed out of these people's lives. And the biggest problem when that happens is because a lot of the time those wives see it as a competition on who's going to get the kids, who's going to get the most money. Like, I'm going to get the most I can at this particular time. And the guys that are just pushed out, you know? So I think that that's the problem. I don't think I don't think it has to be a man running the home, but naturally it does happen. You know, that's just my belief. I believe that, yes, everyone needs to know their roles and there has to be leaders. But I think the biggest problem is the man getting pushed out of the home or getting limited access to their kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, you get to see your kids once every second weekend. Who made up that rule? Do you know what I mean? So you've got guys who know their kids every single day, who spend time with their kids every single day, have an unbelievable relationship with those kids every single day. But now, no, you only get to see them 2 days out of 14.
Yeah. Well, there's another example of the patriarchy is not going to die, because when you look at that situation of separation and taking children and separating child support payments, if everyone is equal and women can do as much as they can, same as men, why would we need to pay them a fee each month when we're no longer there?
Especially when it's 50-50.
Well, you got it. Like that. That's you know, and I'm not detracting from women here, because women can do any job in today's society. We've had female prime ministers, we've got female politicians everywhere, we've got females successfully doing very well at business. Okay. But then we spin it around, and when we go into the courtroom with parents and divorcing, oh, well, hang on, she's now vulnerable, you need to pay her money each month. Why? Death to the patriarchy there, right? No, she's a strong, independent woman. She can go and do what she does. She doesn't need my money.
Yeah, well, you're saying some truth there.
Yeah, like
because that's how it's treated and that's how it's judged. That's how it's played out.
In that situation, patriarchy is absolutely fine. It's only when you spin it. I mean, let's look at if we want to have all industries equal, where there's equal representation of men and women and whatever other flavour you want to pick, why do we pick nice, high-paid, cushy jobs as the benchmark for that? Why should there be X amount of government employees must be female or must be of any ethnicity? Why are we not saying that you know, deep sea divers, oil drilling,
bricklayers,
coal mining, bricklaying, plumbers? Why do we not say that, well, there needs to be an equal bin men? Well, we must have 50% of all council recycling, the guys that go around, we can't even call them men, bin people. Why isn't it 50% of them are women? Why aren't we striving for that? That's true equality, right? That would be death to the patriarchy. Why is no one jumping up and down about that? The gender pay gap. Which gender? How do we? Even in court, I watched this video, and they were discussing it within government, and they were talking about how they've come up with what the gender pay gap is. And he said, well, it's based on, they just take your annual earnings. They don't take into consideration how many days you've worked that week or anything else. It's not hour for hour. The gender pay gap isn't based on an hourly rate. It's based on an overall yearly income. So they say, okay, so if a woman has, and that's based over long term. So if a woman goes on maternity leave, takes 6 months out of the workplace, she's earned 50% of the salary, right? Because she's had a baby. And they've openly said in the courtroom or whatever it was in that government discussion, was, oh no, that's not what it's for. That was never what it was meant to be. It wasn't meant to look at hourly rates. It was just meant to look at the disparity between the earnings. Well, if a man works 12 hours a day and a woman works 8 hours a day, because he's more inclined to take overtime, typically, stereotypically, that is the gender pay gap. So that's what we are fighting against here. Is it's misinformation. Because I've not heard of too many companies that are saying, well, okay, I will pay a man $42 an hour, but if you're a woman, you're on $28 an hour. That doesn't happen. Mm. So where's the gender pay gap?
Well, again, it's misinformation.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? All of this stuff is just fiction.
I wonder what countries around the world stick to the patriarchy more than others. I wonder if you can compare where each country's at. What would you say?
Which countries stick to it?
Well, which country? Yeah, which countries are acting out in what you would say is traditional patriarchy? I'm going to ask Chad.
I would say potentially Spain. I'd probably say Poland. I'd probably say Romania.
Yep.
Probably say they're the ones that come off the top of my head.
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan's coming at number one. Isn't that interesting?
And there is bad stuff with it, right? Like I say, historically there has been some bad stuff that men have enacted through history, but that doesn't change the fact that we still need leadership.
Well, when you look at the patriarchy in regards to the angle we've come from, and then you literally ChatGPT's come up with, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Afghanistan are the top. They share the top spot. And you look at how those countries are acting in today's society, you'd go, well, they're the place you don't want to live. You don't want to live there, right?
But they're also the ones being most protected by the same people that would say that patriarchy is bad. Because I would wager that if you lined, as a majority, if you lined everyone up and put them into, okay, guys, who thinks patriarchy is a bad thing, who thinks it's a good thing, and you split them up, then you go, okay, guys, who from the two groups, who thinks we should free Palestine, who doesn't? And I don't think much would change. Okay, guys, who thinks we should have an open border policy and let anyone in? Everyone's welcome. I don't think those groups would change much, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't. So It's when you look at Afghanistan being number one, it would be, I think Greta would be in support of helping Afghanistan. Right?
Well, you look at where patriarchy have gone wrong. Like you look at countries like we just mentioned, Afghanistan, Yemen, all those places, and you go, I don't want to live there, right? But the reason you don't want to live there isn't so much, although they must be operating the most in regards to the traditional patriarchy, but it's the misuse of power. And I think that's one of the biggest dangers, because when you have people in position, and it is predominantly men in these countries, and you see men in these positions of leadership, where they've gone wrong and where the patriarchy has really come unstuck is the misuse of power. Yeah. It doesn't mean that all men are wrong and all men in those positions are bad. It's the misuse. It's the warped concept on what that power gives them, and then it's the misuse of power. And I think that's one of the, if not the biggest danger in it, which is probably why it's had such a bad name these last few years.
Yep.
Because there have been men in those positions that have misused the power that's at their fingertips.
Do you think that every man is capable of leadership, though?
No.
Because I know it wouldn't be our viewers because they're listening to us because they want to be better leaders. But there's guys out there who just don't have any leadership qualities whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? So this is why I think it doesn't have to be a male-dominated thing. I think if that's naturally, that's what's going to occur. But I don't think it has to be a male-dominated thing. I think there has to be, as you said, leadership.
Well, when there's a war, right, who do we send?
The men.
All right. Are they the men that have grown up in the patriarchy? Are they the men that have grown up with two mums, no men in their life, no male input?
They're the men who grew up in the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And it's also the men that love, like, we were talking about privilege, It is a privilege. I feel like it's a privilege to be an Australian. It's a privilege to live in such an amazing place. It's a privilege to have so many opportunities. We've already won the lottery once for being born in a place like this. Do you know what I mean? So, and they're the people who are going to go out and protect the country. Like, I think that if you want to immigrate here, you should go spend 2 years in the military. And actually, do you know what I mean? Show that you're prepared to support the country. Because if you're not prepared to support or fight for the country, why do you want to be here? Like, you can't take all the privileges of somewhere and not actually back it up, which is part of the hierarchy, isn't it? Okay, well, if you are going to lead the family, well, then there is privileges that are involved with that, which might be getting the biggest piece of steak. Do you know what I mean? Which might be that you get to watch your football or whatever sport that you love without being interrupted. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about over-the-top privileges here where everyone does everything that you say, but this is why it has worked, but it doesn't. But when it comes to countries like that, there's not a chance that if I had a daughter, I would want them to be growing up under that kind of patriarchy.
Yeah. Which, again, we've put down to men acting out with a misuse of power. That's what it really is. Other than misuse of power, where do you think the patriarchy has gone wrong? The world is seeing it as bad. Why?
There's so many things within that, right? I'd put it as the rise of communism, basically, socialism. There's been a mass, I'd almost say like a mass removal of men from so many positions of authority, even to the point in your own home, like you've said. We're a fatherless society or generation for so many people. We've let that happen. We've let it breed. We've gone wrong by letting go to the point where it's gone too far the other way. Because like I say, someone always has to lead. It doesn't have to be a man, but it has to be someone with masculine traits. So we're confusing that. There's a lot of silences this week.
This is
serious.
There's a lot going through my head in regards to thinking how to word it. I'm considering adjusting my answer from the start. Because the more and more I've seen misuse of power, I can understand why patriarchy is seen as bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I can see how it's the infestation within it. But then I don't know if the restoration of it is the answer.
Yeah, that's probably where I'd agree with that. I think, yeah, because I suppose what we're all saying is best person for the job, best everything else. That stereotypically or historically wasn't what patriarchy was. So I think we're advocating for all of the, a lot of the traits of patriarchy, structure, hierarchy, best person for the job. We're just taking whether it's a male or a female. So
Do you think the decline of it so much? Because, like as we said, it's someone needs to be a leader in the family, and there is set roles and responsibilities. I absolutely believe that the parents should come first before the kids. Do you know what I mean? I believe that, you know, the older son or the older daughter should be an example for the other people in the, you know what I mean? So the structure is not. Do you think that a lot of the time it's actually the male and the female in a power struggle where they're not sure? They haven't had that conversation about who's going to look after what and who's got the end conversation. Because as we mentioned, there is guys out there who would be better off just listening to their wives. Or there are guys out there that are better off listening to their wives. But it's because they don't have the emotional fortitude to actually not go out and do something silly. And do you know what I mean? Like, and that sort of aspect there. But do you think it's a power struggle where maybe they've got people on their side? So the husband's got people on their side going, oh, aren't you the man of the house? What's wrong with you? And then you've got the girlfriends of the wife going, oh, he's dumb, he's stupid, he's rah-rah. You could get someone better than this. This is, you know.
I don't know if I'm looking at my house, and I don't know if I would say that I wake up in the morning and my conscious decision is to go, I'm going to lead this, run this, this is mine, it's my response. As a man, you're selfless, or you should be selfless. You should be get up. I want to provide for my family. I want to give them everything that they want. I want to give them everything they need. They come before me. That's how we look at these things. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think we wake up looking to control or dominate the women in our life. We're there trying to do everything we can for the best of them. So if every man came at it from that angle, patriarchy wouldn't even be an issue. It would be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
The difference is what we're being told by society now, by media and by the loud, you know, they used to be few, they're getting more and more, but we're brainwashing women into thinking that men have not got the best interest in heart for them, and that they are somehow at a loss because of something a man does. And then we're telling all men that they're bad for it. We're looking at the action, not the intention in every situation. So you tell Chelsea, you're not allowed to do this. And that is, I don't know, you're not allowed to go to Yemen on holiday when there happens to be a war issue there right now. The society would tell you that you're a bad man for that. How dare you tell a woman what to do? In your head, you're like, no, hang on, don't go to this war zone because this and this. There's your actions could be perceived as controlling, but your catalyst or your motive wasn't bad at all. Mm-hmm. In fact, it was quite the opposite. So again, it's facts versus feelings.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Look, and potentially out there, we don't know what's going on or how people take advantage of the patriarchy because we're not those guys. Do you know what I mean? So we're not exposed to it. So potentially people may be taking that out of contents or have done the wrong thing, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not natural for us to do that. So that's why we're just like, why the hell is this happening? So that is something that could happen or that could be a reality, you know? So because the funny, well, like that story where they go, oh, would you rather go out in the woods with a bear or with a guy? Like when I finish work, you walk the girls to the car park to make sure they're safe. You know what I mean? Like, well, you know, I'm thinking that's better than a bear, or, you know, so, but these things just don't cross the good people's minds. Does that make sense? Or the people that are actually would be listening to this stuff and wanting to become better, and et cetera, et cetera. And maybe we're just not exposed to that sort of side of things. But as to your point was, you know, you don't wake up doing it, but how are leaders made? Or how do you get chosen to be the captain of a football team? It's from the example that you have given, isn't it? You're the person who's in the lead. You're the person who's pushing at training. You're the person who's giving support to their team members. You know, you're the person who's doing the extras. You know, you're the person who talks about how much you want this team to be successful and how we want to win the premiership this year. And you're the one who's, you know, pushing people when they're slackening off, and you're the person who's pulling people when they're having a really hard time. You know, you're doing all these things that get you chosen to be the captain of the team.
Yep.
So maybe men, if they want their house to run like that patriarchy, they have to do those things to be able to get that. Because if they get chosen to go, yes, your example has been so great that we want you to lead us, I think that would be like a key aspect there, because then you can create that great family and you can actually have that safety there. So,
And when you're looking at lead, because we'll wrap it up here, but you look at a lead, right? We always say protect, provide, and lead. It's the makeup of us men. It's ingrained in us. It's how we're wired. But the thing is, we operate best in it, but the people around us, especially women, get the best out of us when we operate in it. So I think when it comes down to leadership in particular, because I'm looking at patriarchy, standing back as a whole and trying to wrap this up and going, I understand why the world sees patriarchy as a bad thing. I get it, because it's a push towards, or it's an embracing of men being predominantly in positions of power, that men have their place up the front and women at the back. I get it how it's seen as bad. But if the world can understand that they get the best out of us men when we are voluntarily wanting to be up the front, to take those hits and to be that, when the world gets the best out of us, out of that, would you not want us to be there when you're going to get the best out of us? If you let me go to the front, you let me take the hit, you let me be the one up, you're going to get the best out of me. Or we can operate back here. We can bring a bit more of a balance. You're just not going to get the best out of men. And I know that's going to sound extremely bad. It's probably going to be taken the wrong way. It's just the truth. If I was, I'm going to say something that's going to be so criticised here, I get it.
Say it, Wayne.
I probably should still in the accent too. But if I was a woman, I would love it if my husband or my partner was up the front and I was not going to say behind, but beside, but on the inner side, because I know I would get the best out of him if he's up front, because it's how we're wired. If you guys have been in positions of business, right? I'm a plumber. I run a plumbing business. If I put an ad in the paper for the ultimate tradesman, and a bloke rocks up and says, mate, I literally am going to be the best tradesman you've ever had. My ute's decked with every tool. I rock up early. I leave late. No one works as hard as me. And I want to do it all for free. I would be stupid not to employ him, true?
Yep.
Okay, what if he was an electrician though and I'm after a plumber? I'd be an idiot for employing him, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because as good as a tradesman as he is, with all the qualifications behind him, if he's not operating in his ultimate for me, then as good as he is, I'm not going to get the best out of him. If he was a good plumber though, different story. And I think the benefit of this is that we operate the best as men when we're operating as men. And when we are in positions, when you allow us to be the protector, to be the provider, and to have this desire to lead, not be the boss, but to lead. You get the best out of us. We operate in our best.
Well, so to the outside, some might see what you said as chauvinistic or a bad thing. But from the inside, from the guys that are around your house all the time, see you, how you operate with your wife, with your kids, I wouldn't say that Lisa feels even the tiniest little bit downtrodden or held back. Quite the opposite.
Complete opposite, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's the bit that we miss from that is the responsibilities you have as that leader ensures the best for them.
Well, Kylie said it. Remember our friend Kylie, friend of the show? She came on. She runs a thing called the feminist movement, or whatever it is, a feminist empowerment movement. She's right down this path. But you talk to her about this, and she will say, oh, no, you will get the best out of your man when you let your man there. And she's running this movement, empowering women to be all they can, run businesses and do this and do this. You say to her, Kylie, at the core of it, where do you see, how do you see the structure? And she will say to you, this is how it works. Allow the man to lead. It doesn't mean that he's the boss. But when he is leader, boom, you're going to get the best out of him. And she is in the thick of it.
Yep.
Interesting chat today, fellas. Anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to defend yourself over? Before you get cancelled and the last time you're on this panel.
Look, my final thought is just if you want your life to be in a certain way, just make sure that you're the man who can take on that responsibility. So work on yourself and become the person first before you expect anything from anyone.
Mm-hmm. Mikey?
Mate, women can do whatever men can do, but that doesn't mean a man needs to stand aside and hold back from giving his best to do that. So it's best person for the job every time. Don't hold yourself back under some weird delusion of, being a modern man or better. You give 100% no matter what. And if everyone does that, the world's going to be a good place, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, mate, 100%. Well, look, we've asked, is the patriarchy dead? The answer, it's not a simple yes or no. What's dying is damage. What's being rejected is distortion. But the core pillars, protection, provision, leadership, they all still matter. If we let those die too, we lose what gives men purpose and soul. Don't mourn patriarchy, renew it. Be the kind of men who are humble, strong, and accountable. Let us be providers who are generous, responsible, and connected. Let us be protectors who guard more than just the physical bodies, but they guard the dignity, they protect values, and they elevate honour. Fellas, I want to thank you for joining us today for the podcast. It's a touchy one. It's a tough one. I'm sure it's going to rustle some feathers, but man, we do all this because we are about us and you becoming better men in order for us to be better for our communities and particularly better for our families. Hope we enjoyed the show. Give us a review. Let us know how you liked it. Fellas, thanks for joining me once again.
Thanks for letting us come on, mate.
Thanks,
for the
boys.
last time ever.
See you guys.